All right, it's just past 6. I think we're going to get started. I wanted to welcome everybody to this presentation. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all of our new and returning community members. We are going to go ahead and get started. My name is Jerry Chaffee. I'm a member of Sarasota Strong, and I'm also an education advocate. I work with a lot of different districts across Florida. I am really excited about this presentation because I'm also part of the cabinet, which is the board that works with Manatee Elementary, which is the latest community partnership school to be established in Florida. If everybody could please keep their mics muted until the end when we're going to have a Q&A session. And then we can welcome everybody to engage in the conversation. If anybody has questions or comments throughout the presentation, let's make sure that you use the chat function. We're going to be monitoring those and address them at the end. And we are also recording this conversation and streaming it on Facebook Live. So it will be available for later viewing. If anyone does not want to be recorded, then just please turn off your camera. For anyone new joining us tonight, Sarasota Strong is a growing group of Sarasota County neighbors committed to learning about trauma and responding to its impact. I have to say that our meetings and activities were always live and in person, but what we've found is that since we've gone virtual, we have a lot more national and even international people that have joined our group and are having a lot of input into some of the things that we can do. So that's been really exciting. Our mission is to promote community-wide trauma awareness through healing, education, action, and leadership. And our vision is to create a community that cares for itself. So what can you do? You can be a part of the conversation and join our monthly community forums like this one to be a part of a trauma-informed, resilient Sarasota. You can join a working group or register for a workshop or training. You can find all that information at Sarasota Strong, srqstrong.org. It's on the screen, sarasotastrong@gmail.com if you want to suggest a topic. All of our topics are suggested by our members, and usually we can pull together some really incredible first witness accounts that have been made for some powerful presentations. So tonight's program is about community partnership schools, and we've assembled a very well-rounded group of people that are intimately involved with the models and doing the work. We also have the pleasure of having some parents that can talk to us a little bit about how it's impacted their families, and some community members that work closely with these parents. So a little bit about just a brief introduction. A community partnership school model leverages the social and institutional capital of long-term partners, making it possible for the school to offer resources and services that address the needs identified by the community. Although every community partnership school is different, and we actually say CPS for short, some of the common supports include healthcare, clothing, meals, parental engagement programs, instruction, enrichment, tutoring, and all of this relieves teachers so that they can focus on the academics. The objective is to meet the social, emotional, mental, physical, nutritional, and sometimes financial needs of students, fully immersing them in the opportunities offered by their school. We wanted to start this right from the top, from the executives leading our two amazing districts. Dr. Asplin, who took over Sarasota County Schools last year, God bless you. I mean, you could not have come at a more opportune time. He was selected superintendent and started August 10th. Prior to being named superintendent, Dr. Asplin served in both the Seminole County School District and the St. Johns County School District in various roles, including teacher, coach, dean, assistant principal, principal, associate superintendent for human resources. He holds a doctorate in educational leadership from the University of Central Florida. And one of the most exciting reasons we wanted to hear from you, Dr. Asplin, is because you help establish 2 community partnership schools and in St. John's. I understand they're in 2 different stages of implementation, year 3 and year 4, I believe. And we wanted you, with your expertise, to tell us a little bit, well, obviously it's your district we're in, Sarasota, and tell us a little bit about your experience. Then we're going to move on to Ms. Saunders, who will let us know about the latest community partnership school that is in its first year of implementation, having been through a planning year last year. So Dr. Asplin, the floor is yours. I don't know how to give you the floor, but if we can figure that out, that would be good.
There we go. You can't hear me. There we go. Well, thank you, Jerry. Really appreciate the invitation today. It's fantastic, and I'm really happy to be here. Yes, here, as you all know, probably in Sarasota County, we don't have any community partnership schools as of yet. But back in St. Johns County, we did have 2, and just wanted to, I guess, touch base with everyone about that experience. But first of all, I know that that one of the things that we had to do to establish our 2 schools was to find a couple of directors, one for each school, who were very good at creating positive relationships throughout the community, so that our parents would feel comfortable coming to the school and taking advantage of the services that we had to offer. And the services, obviously, wraparound services to support our students, support our parents. Physical health was one of the items, food, mental health. Those were very important. We had some homeless students as well, who our student services helped out quite a bit. But the objective was to try to build their home life, or their life in general, into some sort of stable structure so that they would do better in school. And I know our directors really worked hard on that in those 2 schools while I was there. They were fantastic people. We chose the right people for those positions. Also, having a terrific principal on campus was very helpful, obviously, but those 2 programs were part of the school building, and there was a separate area for parking, for instance, in which parents could come and talk to our director in that particular area. That's also where the food pantry was located, and the closed pantry, so to speak, was located, and parents could come and go there. But they really did a great job of building partnerships and relationships. The other thing that was very valuable for us to have were the partners, the community partners that we had. And there were 4 of us, basically, and we all made a long-term commitment, basically a 25-year commitment to each other. And those partners were the school system, obviously, but also St. John's River State College, also the Children's Home Society, and then Flagler Hospital. And those 4 entities worked together very well, very dedicated. I mean, we were all in completely, and you have to be that way to have a successful program. But the State College really helped us with surveys and analyzing data in the community and things like that. The Children's Home Society, they're the ones that really provided the 2 directors that we had in each of the schools, and then a coordinator to really help us as well. And then with parent engagement, they did a really good job with that, and working with the directors and the community engagement piece. Flagler Hospital, they really helped us quite a bit, obviously with the health needs. They're very quick to respond. We had a telehealth piece so that parents didn't have to leave work, and our students could be seen by a doctor through telehealth. We also had a health kiosk that helped parents with the Flagler Hospital and any other needs that they might have to help them get their services. And then our school system, obviously, we had the food pantry and the clothes pantry, and then education in general. And like I said, those directors and the principals, you know, and the teachers, building the relationships with the students and the parents and the community. One thing I realized right off the bat was, because it started out very, very slowly, but you had to build those relationships for people to even come to where you were or to allow you to go to them. And you have to choose the right people to do that. So I think, like I said, the people that we had as the directors were the right people, and they did a tremendous job of helping our parents and the community. Our students got a lot out of it. And like I said, we have a 25-year commitment, and that included funding and services all working together as one. And so so that was the experience that I had there in St. John's. I know I had a really good working relationship also with Amy Ellis from UCF, who really helped us, you know, with the grant piece and reporting and so forth. That was very important. So that's basically what happened in St. John's, Jerry. So again, thank you for allowing me to talk about that tonight.
Did you find that the academics were impacted when all of the support was put in place?
Yes, it was. I actually today, since I knew we were be on today, I called over to St. John's to the Associate Superintendent of Student Services, who kind of runs all this now. And he was giving me an update, and he said things are going really, really well. The students are doing very well in class. And it has a lot to do, obviously, with the fact that they have a stable environment and the relationship is built with their family. So they're able to come to school and really be engaged in their schoolwork. Matter of fact, he said they're actually looking at the possibility of opening a third school. So that was very exciting to hear today. So I know they're looking at that now.
That's excellent. Thank you so much for that wonderful perspective. We are going to move on to Ms. Saunders of Manatee County Schools, the superintendent. Have to say a little bit about her. So she has been superintendent since June 28th of 2018. During her time as superintendent, Manatee District Schools has seen marked improvement academically, financially, and in terms of innovative new programs. In 2019, Ms. Saunders collaborated with Apple Inc. co-founder Steve Wozniak to make Palmview K-8 the first WOZ ETH pathway schools in the nation, where students are, as early as elementary, learn skills as coding, cybersecurity, drones, and mobile development. She has also been instrumental in the implementation of dual language immersion programs, which that's obviously everybody knows near and dear to my heart. And obviously the community partnership schools at Manatee Elementary with the core partners, the University of South Florida, MCR Health, and Children's Home Society of Florida. So Ms. Saunders, if you can let us know, I know we did a year of planning and now we're in the middle of implementation. I'm involved in the monthly meeting, so I can see firsthand the incredible work and the commitment of the partners. And I really think this should be in every Title I schools. I do not know how the principals of these Title I schools do everything without the benefit of a CPS. That's been immensely evident this year to me. But Ms. Saunders, if you can give us your perspective, that would be great.
Absolutely, and thank you, Jerry, for this great opportunity and conversation. I couldn't have imagined a harder year to implement a new initiative, but also I couldn't imagine a school year like Manatee L without the partnership of a community partner such as having USF, MCR, etc. on our campus. Because that's what they do. They partner and they deliver those wraparound supports and services that are above and beyond our day-to-day operation. I'm going to give you some examples of what our partner with the University of South Florida does. Not only have they been instrumental in the whole undertaking of deriving our partnership plan, but they provide interns, they provide extra resources, staff development, anything that is deemed needed that is coming from the instructional needs of the school. They're there to partner and help and kind of fill in those gaps. As well, most of you probably are familiar with all the work that MCR Health has done with our medical partner, We were very fortunate to have the clinics directly on our campus. We have 3 portables. One is for mental health, one is for students' medical health, and one is for the community. So we have medical personnel on that campus every day to assist with the needs of our students and that community that supports Manatee Elementary. You also know that they expanded beyond that when we had a need to administer vaccine to employees or to give vaccines to students. Because we have that partnership, they stepped up and they have administered to over half of our personnel were vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccines. And then when the vaccines came out for students 16 to 18-year-olds, they developed a plan for that. They have just been instrumental. We have expanded the partnership to other Title I schools where we are administering telehealth options to 7 other Title I schools as a pilot, 2 middle and 5 elementary, and that will be full-blown next year. And then we will expand beyond that if need be. One of the other things we're hoping to do is to expand our community partnership plan and program. Since this was a COVID year, we didn't feel like having another one come into fruition next year would be appropriate, but next year will be a planning phase, and we are hoping to expand this model for Daughtry Elementary. So they have already been identified as our second school, and we will begin work on developing a team of support for that school community. I cannot say enough about our core cabinet group because it really is led by the needs of the community and our support of that community. I believe our chair, Conrad Szymanski, is on our call tonight, and I hope he's on the agenda. I know we have many of them listed, but he has done a tremendous job. Again, most of these community members stepped up at the very beginning of the concept after UCF came and did a presentation, and I believe it was to Sarasota County. And from there, it just garnered. We identified the need, surveyed that community, and that really does drive what that partnership is going to look like. One thing that we felt was important was education, and our partners have decided to work with Take Stock with Children and to raise scholarships for students that go through Manatee Elementary. And I believe this year we're administering 5 or 6 scholarships to students of Manatee that they already know that if they graduate and maintain their appropriate GPA, their college will be ready and paid for them so that they can end up having a completely different life than what they've been accustomed to. And that's the whole purpose of this, is to really embrace that community, embrace that village, and make significant change to the success, not only of the students, but also for the families there. One thing that Ms. Chaffee will be happy to hear on our last cabinet meeting, they wanted another portable for a parent resource center. So we can have the food bank, the clothes bank, and also a computer set up for parents that may need to have assistance of filling out any type of online assistance or applications. You know, there was a lot of CARES money, but they didn't have means. If you don't have Wi-Fi or means to fill a lot of those documents out, you're not able to really utilize those resources. So that portable will be in place before school starts. So it's just an exciting opportunity of really seeing a whole community change. And it's just impressive to see. And I'm just glad that we have been able to bring that to Manatee County and be a part of that whole initiative. And I'm hoping to see many, many more expand in Manatee County.
Thank you so much for that input. And I have to say that Ms. Saunders is there at every month giving the district perspective. So this is a commitment. I mean, the district is a core partner and she's there with other district people. So we thank you for that. I wanted to recognize briefly Carol Lerner, who is among us of POPs Minnesota, because Carol and her initiative, her enthusiasm was the one who pushed to bring UCF and CHS to those first presentations we did years ago that caught the attention of Mr. Szymanski and Kennedy and a couple of other Manatee people. And that's how we ended up having Manatee Elementary have this wonderful program. So thank you, Carol, for your help there. So now we're going to move on to actually what it is, how it works. We have a presentation that will be given by Children's Home Society of Florida, which is one of the 4 core partners. This is a nonprofit that really provides a lot of the services and the direction for the partnership to work. And they also provide the salary and the direction for the director, which in Manatee is Renita Houston, one of our speakers. And she acts like a right-hand person for the principal of the school. So it's technically like an assistant principalship position, but it's the director of the entire partnership and coordination of all the services. And then she's going to be presenting along with Jarvis Wheeler, who's the statewide director of Children's Home Society of Florida. And we also will have Kailia Carlswell, who is the Community Partnership School Director at Mort Elementary, which is the Tampa-based CPS school that helped us a lot in our initial phase and give us direction when we established Manatee Elementary. So Jarvis and team, you have the floor.
All right, thanks so much, Jerry. And can you hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up so I know I'm good? All right, great. I was having some access issues. Good evening, everyone. Definitely great to be amongst you. I must say, times have really evolved, not just only with the pandemic, but definitely with community partnership schools. Back when I was Kailia or Renita back at Evans High School as a director, I remember the days of having to go all around the nation to hear people speak about the work that we do. And it's great to hear from leaders such as Dr. Asplin and Dr. Saunders, who have just been instrumental in the growth that we've had around the state to serve students. So thank you all for your leadership, and thanks for having me here. And we can go ahead and jump into the presentation. So you all are already experts, at least who I've heard from thus far, right? But when you look at this picture, you can really see what's wrong with it. You know, every day we have students who are coming to school and they are dealing with proverbial baggage that prevents them and weighs them down from being able to successfully focus on their education. And not only does it affect the students, research and studies show that it also affects their peers. Because 9 times out of 10, there's some type of connection there, but also the teachers and staff are affected, whether it's directly because they care for this child, whether it's indirectly because it's a distraction from teaching. And as you can see in this image, not only is the student feeling the weight, the other 2 individuals are kind of paralyzed and really left with what can they do? What can be done to really alleviate this student of the weight that they're experiencing. So when we talk about the importance of community partnership schools and the work that we do, why does this all matter? You can look at some of these statistics about children who grew up in poverty, how they're more likely to be high school dropouts, how having a toothache could negatively affect your grades. And even when you talk about the pandemic, and as a result of everything that has taken place and how it is just going to exasperate children living in poverty, you can see the importance of why there's a need to really focus on the whole child. So when we talk about how we really attack this problem, this challenge that we see our students facing and coming to school every single day, community schools is definitely a vehicle as a place-based strategy. I love this image. When you look at the image on the left, some of you all may be more well-versed with it than others. You can see that that rotary phone is one-dimensional. It can make a phone call, and that's pretty much it. That's the gist of what it can do. But when you look at that image on the right-hand side, that smartphone or that community school, it can do much more. But keeping in mind that you can still make that phone call. Typically, when you go to school, it's all about academics. When you go to community schools, everything is still all about academics. But how do we ensure that students enter schools ready to learn, but more importantly, ensure that schools are ready to receive students, regardless of the challenges that they deal with? The great thing about when you look at that smartphone is that it's customizable. The issues that you have are different from the issues that I have. Jerry may like to take pictures on her phone, and I may like social media. You may like paying your bills. Whatever you need your smartphone or your community school to do is customized to you. And what ends up happening is one of these resources are going to be utilized much more than the other. I remember the rotary phone when I was growing up at my grandmother's house, and it sat at the table, and it sat at the table. I couldn't do much with it, couldn't play with it. But this smartphone, I see even when I go to airports, people sitting down on the floor to plug them in to make sure that they always have their juice. And that's really essentially how we are seeing schools become transformed through the community partnership school model, because now students can utilize the services that they need. It brings in the families in the community, the partners, all of this social capital that now students, families, and others want to utilize this school more. It's much more than just now an academic institution. It could literally be a place that has saved a child's life. And as a result, you're definitely getting more bang out of your buck. Next slide. So when we talk about community schools, because there are a variety of community schools all over the world, and a variety of mental models, but really talking about community partnership schools that Dr. Asplin and Dr. Saunders referenced earlier, in the work that we do with Children's Home Society, you can see, to start off with, what makes us unique. We'll get into that, but in general, the 4 pillars of community schools, as you can see, are collaborative leadership, expanded learning, wellness supports, family and community engagement. And you're going to hear from some of our team members a little bit later about how that looks in their schools and what it's all about. Next slide. But when we also talk about the uniqueness of community partnership schools, this is really getting to the point, and Dr. Asplin hit on it, and so did Dr. Saunders. We bring together at least 4 or more core partners that make a long-term formal commitment to doing this work in their local community. So you can see those 4 core partners are identified by a nonprofit like Children's Home Society, a healthcare provider, a school district, and a university or college. Now keep in mind, it's 4 or more. You know, we've seen schools all over the state add additional partners, whether it's the Boys and Girls Club, whether it's philanthropists, whether it is the local municipalities. But at the end of the day, it's about creating that long-term commitment to our kids, because we know in order to change the life trajectory and to shift culture, this can't be a quick fix. We literally are building the students' foundation from the ground floor, because we truly believe that in this work, our student ceilings are just as high as any other student ceilings, regardless of their zip code, regardless of how much money is in their wallets. But oftentimes it's the ground floor that is not the same, the starting point. Next slide. So when you talk about the uniqueness and the comprehensiveness of community partnership schools, this is really the bread and butter right here. And I'm not going to get into all the ins and outs. I know people like Muriel and Renita and Kylia, when they see this, this may bring them joy and pain at the same time, because community partnership schools is really about convening the support and the resources that are needed at the right time. And in order to bring multiple people together, you got to have continuous communication in order to create that collective impact. And we do this through our comprehensive model, where you can see all of the core partners are represented in this organizational structure, where there's a cabinet that is focused on the 40,000-foot view about how to drive forward strategy, how to ensure that we're making an impact, how to ensure that we're bringing the best practices to our students and our families, all the way through our operations teams, data committees, communications, but most importantly, our student and community leadership councils. We do not do this work to people. We do this work with the people that we serve, because we believe that they know everything that they need, and maybe just support and resources and connections and social capital in order to have that impact. So our students or our parents, depending upon the age level, and also our community members, sit on our cabinets and help us drive the direction of where we're going. And oftentimes we're able to meet the need better because we're doing it alongside those who we serve. Next slide. And then this is another key component of our work that makes us very comprehensive, our certification process, which is a rigorous process that's centered around the fidelity of the model to ensure that we are implementing best practices around the state. A lot of our schools receive funding from the Department of Education. Currently, right now, we are in statute for the state of Florida at about $7.1 million. And that funding, we're so appreciative to our state legislator for that commitment. And in order to safeguard the work that we're doing, but ensure that all of our schools are performing at an admirable level, you can see some of the things that our schools are assessed on through that certification process. Everything down from their partnership and their governance to their programming that's happening on campus, and even to their evaluation and not only their financial sustainability, but personnel and capacity sustainability as well. So now getting into the impact, and then I can get out of the way and you can hear from some of the real superstars who are now doing this work on an everyday basis. At my high school, where I was a former student and had the privilege of being a teacher and a director at Evans High School, we saw applicants to University of Central Florida just jump and jump and jump, and not just applicants, but acceptances and enrollees. Oftentimes we said at Evans, you know, our students will mirror what they see. And while UCF was on the other side of town and maybe a pipe dream for many of our students, when they became a core partner and having that presence and those resources, being able to supply scholarships and special events and being able to offer internships and opportunities to fully engage and create that social capital, we saw not only the graduation rates jumps, but we saw students starting to attend UCF jump as well. Next slide. And then at Ed White High School up in Jacksonville, we've started to see the graduation rates just like Evans jump as well. You can see when we first got started, it was at about 65%, just like how it was at Evans, and now almost 100%. And you can see some of that ROI when you talk about students as they're graduating more, the return on investment that comes in that, they're more likely to make more money and more earnings. They're less likely to be caught up in the system or get caught up with social ills. So as a taxpayer, there's a huge return on investment, let alone as a parent, right? Next slide. And then at OCPS ACE, which is one of our newer community partnership schools, well, not as new anymore, almost 5 years, right? Pandemic really sped things up, at least for me. We've seen discipline decrease. When you talk about having mental health counselors on site and a lot of these embedded resources, ACE is just one of several schools that we've seen not only suspensions, but discipline and behavior, negative behaviors decrease. CA Weiss, which is one of our more mature schools up in Pensacola. So as you can see, rural or urban, we're seeing some of those same impacts as it relates to behavior. Next slide. And then Endeavor Elementary and Cocoa, you can see teacher retention, and you can see some of those academics. When you talk to our teachers and staff at our schools, now they're able to just teach. They have someone that they can go to when students need those additional holistic wraparound supports. They can even get supports that are available to them. So they want to stay and they want to be a part of this great work. And just being able to ultimately move the needle on academics, because it's still about making that phone call, right? Still about moving the needle ultimately for our students' academic ceilings. Next slide. And then you can just see Mort as I get ready to hand it off to Kalia Carswell, our director there. Our teacher retention for a 5-year period outpaced that of its peer schools in the Hillsborough County School District. So I don't have to speak to Mort. I'm definitely not the expert on that. Kalia, I will turn it over to you to share that and more.
Good evening. I am Kalia Carswell, as mentioned, Community Partnership School Director at Mort. Just a little insight about Mort. We are in our 5th year of implementation. So we've been doing this work for a little while, but what's very important is we want to make sure that we note the collaboration. We really could not do this in a silo. We have to do this as a partnership. And so with Jarvis mentioning our teacher retention, we really honed in on that through a partnership with the University of South Florida and a program that they brought to our school called Teacher Leader Academy. And through that program, our teachers were able to obtain graduate level certificates and degrees, which in turn empowered them to want to stay at our school, but also gave them increased skills and knowledge to go to other schools down the line, or even to move up into administration at some point. One of our current assistant principals went through that program, and again, now he's an assistant principal. He's moving on to a different school next year because of some changes that we've had to face, but we really worked hard with that partnership, and the key component of that program was that the staff didn't have to leave campus to get that graduate level certification or that graduate level degree. They did their coursework and practicum right at the school. So that really ties into the partnerships that you bring to the table for your school, really utilizing the different resources. I'm not going to go too far in depth. I know we're close on time, but you're going to hear from a couple of my parents from the school, also a former family and community engagement coordinator who represents a community partner of ours, which is a church, and you're going to hear from our current family and community engagement coordinator. But it's super important for us to understand that we have to do this work together, and you have to have that long-term commitment. What tends to happen is people see, ooh, a new program. It's like a shiny new toy, something new that we can bring to our school, but they're not committed for the long haul. This type of work has to have a long-term commitment. You cannot do this in a year or two, or get frustrated if in a year or two the grade doesn't change or things don't move as quickly as you would have liked, because again, it takes time to impact those changes. It took time for those kids to get into the situations that they were presented with. So we have to make sure that we have the time committed to ensure that the kids' needs and the services are met. And I'm being told that my time is up, so I'm going to stop talking at this point, but you'll hear more from us, and my principal is also on the call.
So that
Renita, would you like to share a little bit about Manatee?
Yes, I will. Well, I'm Renita Houston, Community Partnership School Director for Manatee Elementary School. And this is our year 1 of implementation. And with that, we have a successful school-based health center that we launched in August of this particular school year. And so far, I could tell you with our school-based health center, it has seen over 200 students this school year. We also have a successful expanded learning program, which persists of before and after school care. Not only that, but we just landed a big grant with the Boys and Girls Club, where they were able to put in, I believe it was $97,000, and the donors were able to match that amount to cover us for the next 3 years to provide that after school care for our students, which started this particular spring. And they're also doing summer school as well, the summer program from 8:30 to 5:30 Monday through Thursday, and then full course in this next school year that's coming up. So, you know, our expanded learning is doing phenomenally well, with other programs also, with us having before and after school tutoring. We also have our family and community engagement, which we will continue to move the needle to improve parent involvement and providing resources to the community, making it the community hub, meaning this is where everybody will come. The parents, if they need resources, if they need to use a computer or do anything like that, we have that particular hub where they're able to come into the school to do that. Not only that, but we just launched a full food bank food pantry this particular school year as well, in the spring. And what that consists of is every Wednesday we do have a drive-through feeding pantry where we're able to feed those parents of Manatee Elementary School. And that has been successful. So with us just launching that, we have been able to see where we have fed over 150 parents so far within the last couple of months. So we're excited about where that is going. That food pantry that we have is with Feeding Tampa Bay, which has been funded through United Way of Suncoast. Not only that, just as Kylia also mentioned, we have a successful collaborative leadership team. That team consists of our 4 core partners, which is USF, the School District of Manatee County. It also consists of MCR and Children's Home Society of Florida. None of this is not possible if we're all working in silos. We have to work together in order to make this community partnership school work. And I've heard my time is up also. So now moving to the next person.
I think we were
Annalise, are we going to share?
Are we hearing from, oh, do you have a video to share? I was told there was a video. Okay.
Yes, it should be playing. Give me just one moment, guys. There we go.
Okay.
I was going through a lot due to my brother being murdered and also my other brother being in prison. Only thing was our mama didn't support us. So that's what really made us turn to the streets.
This is the reality of forgotten communities in Florida. The hopelessness of children bleeding into our cities and draining potential. But imagine having the power to improve a neighborhood and create real economic impact by simply transforming a Title I battleground school into an academic center of excellence with an 88% graduation rate. It's not magic. It's a cost-effective investment called a community partnership school. At Children's Home Society of Florida, we've created a unique model that offers kids and families a helping hand with a proven path to success.
We have children that go home on the weekends that don't have food, and so we have a food pantry. We have clothing facility where we're really making sure that we are trying to help meet the needs, to lift up our families, to give them that hope for the future that they can make a difference.
These kids are dealing with complex adult problems, but community partnership schools are eliminating these barriers to education. Through long-term community partnerships, students have year-round and after-hour access to services like counseling, healthcare, tutoring, as well as mentorship programs that not only keep children off the streets, but transform the entire community.
Oh, the difference at Evans High School as a community partnership school is night and day. We've seen disciplinary referrals drop as far as 50% when they became a community partnership school, which is a huge, huge, huge feat for them to conquer.
The safety results are real, and it's happening at every community partnership school. At Weiss Elementary in Pensacola, the number of disciplinary referrals dropped by 43% and suspensions were cut in half in the first year. Focused on lifelong success, our community partnership schools are also engineering a career pipeline in the most distressed neighborhoods, creating real economic results. At Evans High School in Orlando, there's been a 4-to-1 return on investment, and the rising graduation rates have resulted in $1.6 million of increased income for the region.
Working closely with the Community Partnership School has allowed me and my business to get involved at the community level in ways that I never would have thought possible. And there is a direct impact in terms of improving the community, which turns around, makes my business more marketable, and makes business much better.
It gives me hope because around in this area, we don't have hope like that. You know, some kids give up on themselves and they give up on their dreams. With me and having this internship, I can, it's like I'm able to keep pushing because I'm actually around people that actually been places that I want to go. So that just gives you the extra push and the extra motivation that you need to succeed in life.
Help us remind kids and communities that we haven't given up on them, and together we're investing in their future. At CHS, we're proving community partnership schools deliver solutions that change lives.
That was great. Thank you so much for that. I think we wanted to move along now. Is it Dr. Cole? Oh, that's right. Well, were we gonna hear from Xenia, the faith-based leader, and some of the parents, or are we moving to, well, okay. Let's move on. Let's move on to Dr. Colgate then, and then we can hear from the first witness accounts. Dr. Colgate currently serves as the Senior Director of Community Affairs for MCR Health, a federally qualified health center, and he is Chief Operating Officer of their Medicare Accountable Care Organization, All Care Options. He also serves on the Manatee Chamber of Commerce Board of Director for the 3rd term, and he's a member of the Chamber's Healthcare Committee. Recently, he was appointed as a chair of the Regional Community Partnership Schools Healthcare Steering Group cabinet member, and he's a cabinet member of our Manatee Elementary CPS, and he also is the chair of the statewide CPS advisory group. What this means is, even though Manatee Elementary has only been around as a CPS for 2 years, our own Dr. Colgate is now the chair of the statewide CPS health portion for all the schools. So we welcome Dr. Colgate to our presentation. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the importance of having the health care partner as a core partner.
Jerry, first and foremost, thanks for the invite.
Okay.
Next. One of my favorite public speakers used to say, only your mom would believe that introduction. It's an honor to be here. I'm not going to put the physician hat on. I'm going to talk about communication, collaboration, and playing team ball. This thing came together so rapidly, and I'll tell you why. So if I get out of my lane, somebody redirect me. We picked the right superintendent, the right school, and the right principal, because that's the only way this works. And then you have to take territorialism out of the equation. And I'll tell you, Superintendent Saunders did a great job with that. You know, you're always in a tough spot. And so we pulled the right people together. And then what else we did is we pulled community volunteers, and we all know they're volunteers, together from a leadership standpoint. And we built a team. So we have the 4 core partners. But really, I think what made us best is, we never staked out our territory. We just went about doing what's right for the kids, what's right for the school, and put everything else aside. So on the healthcare part, we're very proud of the care we're providing, and that includes vision and dental and behavioral health, because those are often overlooked, and that'll help with attendance. It'll help with a lot of other fallout in addition to immunizations and primary care, etc. So the idea is to just give them easier access to medical care. And we have a pharmacy. All three of our sites are on site right at the school. They were kind enough. Superintendent Saunders gave us 3 portables, which we decorated up as nice as any office you'll ever see. And we have a pharmacy 2 blocks away, which is on a sliding fee scale. So the kids can get access to care. It helps the parents, be they struggling or they're working and it's hard to get your kid into medical care. So we're very, very proud of the relationship. And you know, as Renita said, we're only not even a year in, and yet we keep getting seated on, you know, statewide committees. And it's not because we're so good. Those that presented earlier have, you know, a better track record than us. But, you know, if the kids have better attendance, less disciplinary issues, higher graduation rates, touchdown. So, you know, we are proud to be able to play our part. And we're very proud of the other leaders that sit on all of our committees and cabinets, etc. So, Jerry, I'm an ER doc, so that was succinct. I did pretty good, didn't I?
You did very well. Thank you, Dr. Colgate. Appreciate it.
Get you back on time. Well, as in well, I meant succinct.
Thank you so much. We are going to move right along. We're a little behind schedule. Dr. Denise Davis Cotton, who is here representing the 4th core partner, the University of South Florida. Dr. Davis Cotton is the director of the Florida Center for PAINT, which is a partnership for arts integration in teaching. She is a Milken Foundation internationally recognized educator and founder of Detroit School of Arts, serves on the board of governors for distinctive schools and the Florida Association of Arts Educators, and has committed more than 45 years, but you're only 40, no, I'm kidding, to arts education and educational equality. We welcome Dr. Davis Cotton, and she's a personal friend, so the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jerry. If you would advance the next slide, I'm going to try to honor the 5 minutes that I have. The community partnership schools provide access, opportunity, equity, and inclusion through engagement, through enrichment, and through empowerment. If you look at the picture on my right, you will see a young man from an underrepresented community. And what he's thinking in his head, and this is what I envision by the poem, We Wear the Mask by Carl Lawrence Dunbar, not the mask during the pandemic, but the mask of hiding inequity, the mask of hiding the lack of being provided access and opportunity. We wear the mask that grins and lies, it hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile, with torn and bleeding hearts we smile and mouth with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. And I'm going to stop there because we believe, as a pillar and a partner of the community partnership schools with the Manatee Elementary School, that it takes a village. You heard earlier that each pillar implements the strategies of integrated student supports, expanded learning and opportunities, family and community engagement, and collaborative leadership. Well, we believe that it provides equality and equity. We know that equality is giving everyone a shoe, but equity is giving everyone a shoe that fits. And that's what the Manatee Education Partnership Schools with Manatee Elementary School does. If you would advance to the next slide, I talk about why do we care? Well, we care because we know that with our university system and our support for the Manatee Elementary School, we carry a child from cradle to college to career. That's why we care. So we look at education through an equity lens. We look at the community partnership schools through the lens of opportunity. We look at the community partnership schools through the lens of engagement. We understand that our students need validation, they need opportunity, they need resources, and they need follow-up. We all also understand that our schools need innovation, discovery, building an intellectual culture, and of course, working with our collaborative partners. We at the University of South Florida believe that we encompass all of those representations so that we can be inclusive to serve the diverse populations and the diverse perspectives that our teachers, our community leaders, and our partners embrace. Next slide, please. So as we look at creating those optimal opportunities for teaching and learning as a university partner, we look not only at best practices, but we also look at people practices, because without best people practices, you cannot enact best practices. So the University of South Florida creates an educational network that addresses how do you mitigate those obstacles and cultural barriers. Well, one way we do it is through arts integrated pedagogy. We look at historical inequities in curriculum and programs related to low-income students and communities of color. We try to fill those gaps with opportunity and supports for those students. And we look at conditions that are detrimental to students, intellectual, social, emotional, and physical development. One program that we're enacting when school opens in the fall is a social emotional program through the University of South Florida and the Boys and Girls Club after school to help through reading, through literacy, and to embrace those students and their families and increase those social emotional skills. Next slide, please. At the University of South Florida, we do believe that home is a school zone too. So we believe that there is strength in partnerships. We believe that a high quality education is the best course of action to changing the cycle of poverty for children from vulnerable populations. So we collaboratively engage parents and communities within the school to provide engaging learning opportunities that are grounded in their cultural backgrounds. And we provide the organizational and operational infrastructure for promoting integrated student supports that are aligned with the certification goals that Jarvis talked about earlier of the community partnership schools. So as we look at what schools look like in action, we look at the understanding that through collaborative leadership and practice, we contribute to meeting the educational needs, especially of our Title I schools, our low achieving students from high poverty areas. We support students' educational and life skills through a balanced infrastructure and a balanced approach. We believe that educating the whole child means that we educate both sides of the brain. We educate the creative side as well as the critical thinking through the arts, through aesthetic learning, and through the sciences, through STEM education as well. If you look at the last slide that we have, you can see the structure, and it comes from the Learning Policy Institute of Community Partnership Schools School Improvement Plan. You look at the 4 pillars of community and look at how they are mobilized and how they are operationalized and how they are energized in action. When you look at enrichment activities, when you look at expanded learning, when you look at collaborative leadership, when you look at integrated student support from all of the people who talked before me, you understand, as I do, as the first chair of the Manatee Elementary Community Partnership Schools, the foundation, the supports are critical so that we could have a thriving community that embraces and engages all learners from various backgrounds, perspectives, through their learning opportunities and through the leadership, starting with your superintendent, with your parents, with all of the stakeholders who come together to coalesce as one to bring about a change and transformation in education.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Davis Cotton. I can tell you it sounds like something that's not possible, but being there every month and seeing it in action is really has been incredibly illuminating for me. So now we're going to move on quickly to parent perspectives. We have with us Reynalda Correa and Lashanda Copeland. Where are our parents? Reynalda, ¿dónde está? Ahí está Lashanda. Where's Reynalda? Okay. Ahí está, hola. All right,
Hola,
so Reynalda, let's start with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit of your involvement, the age of your kids, and the, how it's benefited you and your family and your community.
Ok. Para mí es muy, muy especial pertenecer a la Escuela Amor, porque pues ahí han estado mis dos hijos. Y es muy gratificante que tengan mucho apoyo hacia la comunidad.
Okay. ¿Qué clase de apoyo han tenido para la comunidad?
Como por ejemplo, las tutorías, las despensas y pues si uno necesita ayuda, uno va pues a la escuela, habla con Kylie o con Kailia y uno les dice sus dudas, se las resuelven y si pueden, pues ayudan. Entonces, es buenísimo el apoyo que tenemos nosotros de parte de la escuela y de los miembros de la escuela, que siempre están apoyándonos y están buscando la manera pues de ayudarnos.
Fantástico. I'm kind of instant translating on the chat so that we can understand Reynalda. I think. All right, good. And then muchas gracias Reynalda por participar con nosotros esta noche. And Lashanda, if you can tell us a little bit, you have to unmute yourself. A little bit about how you have integrated into the CPS model and the impact on the community you live in. Are you there? There you go.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Lashanda Copeland. I have one just started, 4 beautiful kids who go to Mort. I can only really speak about Mort Elementary and the community I live in. To me, Mort is more than just a school. For me and my family, it's become a big, happy family. If we have any problems, if we need anything, Ms. Colley's there. We have the school principal who's also there to speak with us if we're in need or need someone to talk to. I've been a very strong part of Mort for a while. Thanks to COVID, I had to back down from being that close to Mort, which I miss doing so much. But all I can say is that it's been a real good help for the pantry, for just being able to reach out to somebody, not only for my kids, but me as a parent. Sometimes it's really rough with 6 kids. Sometimes I feel like I don't know if I'm coming or going. I just need some help. And Miss Collie or somebody at the school understands and they bring me back to normal. You could do it. It's okay. We're here. And I think that's what all the parents in our community need. They need to hear it's not just about their children. It's about them too. But for the most part, I want to thank Ms. Brown, Ms. Collie, anyone at Mort Elementary. And like I said, they're not just my peers. They're family to me.
That's fantastic, Lashanda. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your experience with this model. We also have with us Xenia Robertson, who is a Cuban immigrant and first-generation college graduate with a degree in early childhood and elementary education from Florida State. She's passionate about helping children reach their intellectual, physical, and creative potential, and recognizes the important role education plays in transforming lives. For the past 9 years, she has been coordinator at Bay Hope Church Adopt a School initiative at several Hillsborough County schools. So Xenia, hola Xenia. If you can share with us a little bit about what you have seen and your experience with this model. Are you there? Oh, she's frozen.
Jerry, along with Xenia, this is Kylie. We also have Kylie Ross. You hear them saying Kylie a lot. Oh, I think Xenia's coming in.
Okay.
Yes, can you hear me?
A little bit. It sounds a little sketchy, but
Oh,
go ahead.
Maybe if you
Xenia's
stop
trying
your
to get
video,
in.
Xenia.
We also have Kylie Ross. She's our current family and community engagement coordinator. So that's who LaShonda and Reynalda connect with at the school. So you have Kylia and you have Kylie at the school.
Okay, Kylie. Okay.
That's okay. You can skip to Kylie if she's
Yeah,
not
see,
available.
you're
the church partnership.
okay. Okay. Well, Kylie, where are you, Kylie? There you are, Kylie.
Hi. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So just a little bit on Xenia. Xenia it oversees everything with Bay Hope that we do, and Bay Hope is a huge partner for us, and they show up for us in so many different ways, whether it's
better. I turned off my video.
I think we start getting some feedback from Xenia, but whether it's supporting us with volunteers or with donations, coming and helping organize our food pantry, buying shirts for different parent programs that we have, Bay Hope is always there, and we could not do what we do without support from a huge church like Bay Hope. They do so much for us. And just to kind of go back to our two parents we had on tonight, they're both VIP parents at Mort. We have this really awesome parent incentive program here at Mort that's called our VIP program, and it stands for Very Involved Parent. So both LaShonda and Reynalda are VIP parents. They've gotten a t-shirt and been recognized at a pep rally for becoming a VIP parent. And what this program is, it's a parent point incentive program. So we try to incentivize parent involvement. So the more parents get involved by going to parent-teacher conferences or volunteering, coming to a school event, we give them points. And they earn points throughout the year. And twice a year, they get to use those points to buy gifts, like brand new toys, household items. So we have a pop-up shop in December, and then in the spring, we actually just had one back on the 15th of May, where parents were invited to come and spend their points, and they go home with bikes and new toys and sheet sets and blankets, and it's a really great way just to incentivize getting more involved at the school. So just getting more parents involved. We see it, like LaShonda was saying, they feel just incentivized and rewarded for the work that they're doing, and we know that it's just so important for that wraparound service of getting parents involved in their kids' education too.
That's great, Kylie. Thank you. One of the most important parts of Sarasota Strong's format is a question and answer portion. So we have about 20 minutes left, and we want to make sure that we get as many questions as possible. I do want to start with Chaplain Foster's question, and another person who also asked a similar question, and maybe somebody from CHS or somebody else can answer. How are you working with children and families to address the trauma that exists in some of these communities because of all of the things that Jarvis mentioned? These children come with homelessness, seeing things sometimes that many of us cannot even fathom. How do we work with children? So the exact questions, like, this is the biggest impairment to student success. So what are we doing about that? Why is this a trauma-informed model? I'm not sure who wants to take that one.
Well,
sure, and Kylie, you and Principal Brown, would you both like to jump in on that one for more? You have a perfect example right there.
Yes, and I would definitely like to see if Ms. Brown is able to speak on it. She's our principal, and she calls it proud principal of our school. So Ms. Brown, would you please go ahead and answer what we do for social emotional for the students?
So hi everyone. I'm sorry, I've just been in transition. Okay, so we do you know, first you just have to address the teachers and their own bias. We just finished planning today about our pre-planning for next year, and one of the things that we do is we have to let the teachers tap into what they think the students are going through and then what the students are really going through. In addition, we have to place them in the area of the students. So one of the things that we do in the beginning of the year, we take a walk. We take a walk through the neighborhood. So our teachers can understand where the students are actually coming from, literally where they're coming from, where they live in their homes. And so that just puts a lot of things in perspective as far as setting the tone. The next thing that we do is we make sure we have what we call morning meetings throughout the school. So teachers are building relationships with students and they're understanding them on a deeper level. And it's not so intrusive so they can get all of their information about their personal life, but just to set the tone of how do I build a relationship so I can help the student. In many cases, most of my teachers have been there. We have a really high retention rate. So they know family to family, like Ms. Copeland, like she said, she has 4 beautiful babies that that attends Mort. So we know her history. So a lot of times we don't have to repeat a lot of the things that we do because we know the history. But you have to know the kids and you have to release your biases. And that starts soon as school starts in August. We're taking a walk through the community. We're also doing a lot of things with social emotional learning. And so our guidance counselors, along with USF this year, we participated in positive psychology, which helped the teachers tap into their own biases and their thinking of how to deal with trauma, as well as being able to support what each individual student needs. Kalia, feel free to jump in if I'm missing something, because I know I am.
You're good. With the positive psychology, there was also a student component. We really, they use surveys to address the students' happiness. How happy are you in your home life? How happy are you at school? How happy are you with your family, with your friends? In addition to that piece with the positive psychology, Children's Home Society, as part of their services as a partner, we have mental health counselors on site at the school that are providing free counseling services, regardless of income, regardless of their ability to pay or anything like that. The students all have access to mental health counseling. And then also our health partner has behavioral health component embedded into their services as well. So we have services available for the students, but not only is that CHS counseling available for the students, the families have access, the staff have access. It's open to anyone that's in need of those types of counseling services, whether it's inpatient, on-site at the school, or outpatient services. So we try to make all of that available for the students to have. The students aren't having to miss school to get their counseling services. They're actually pulled during the school day, during whatever time has been identified by the teacher to be a good time. Maybe it's during their specials that they go in and they get their counseling services done once a week, as opposed to having a parent have to make an appointment somewhere off-site and somehow get their child to that appointment so that they can get the services needed. We take that barrier off, or that obstacle off the parents and that burden, and give it to what we can do at the school to meet those needs, as opposed to pushing it back to the parents.
And one thing that has worked for us that has been so successful is that my social service team that is hired by the district actually meets with CHS. So when we move as a social service team, we move as a unit, and then we look at the kids, what we call character days. If we have to deal with a child and some disruptive behavior, then we look at the case by case basis, but we do it as a team every week. And we look at, is this a student problem or is this a teacher problem? And then what type of problem is the student having? Is it because they're going through some type of trauma that we definitely need to address? And how do we address that? Or is it that we are addressing a true behavior problem where the child is, actually misbehaving out of class for whatever reason? But we try to narrow that back. Narrow it down to actually have a deeper conversation.
Exactly, and we infuse mentoring.
We do have a couple of other questions, so maybe we can ask anybody with a question, raise their hand. Suzanne, you have a question? You're muted, Suzanne. Oh, okay. Anybody else have a question? Okay. All right. Sue? Sue Maloney, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Mine is for Dr. Davis Cotton or anyone else who has worked with the university interns. I'd just like some more information on what roles they fill when they're working in the community partnership schools. And would that be for just a month or so, or would it extend to over a semester?
Well, Marie Bird handles that program for the University of South Florida, but they are directly in the school working with teachers and the administration for, I think it's a 3-year program, but they work per semester. For 1 year, they work in a Title I school. They work in different types of schools so that they can get diverse experiences in engaging with a variety of populations of students. Dr. Marie Bird is the director of that program at the University of South Florida. I'm not in the College of Education. My program is self-contained and self-dedicated.
And it's Colgate. As somebody who's an employer, it's variable based on A, the academic institution, and B, the employer where they're going to do said internship or training. So it's somewhat all over the map. So you just have to do your research, find people you trust, and then get them out there. I think it's a great experience.
I can also answer that question a bit as well, as being the director there at Manatee Elementary. Last year we did have 4 interns. This year we had 4, in which due to COVID, the program was cut short. However, those interns are in the classroom with the teachers, assisting those teachers. So they're doing, different things with those teachers and ensuring that they're modeling that behavior as well, that those students need to see as well. So, they're basically in those classrooms with those teachers, assisting those teachers.
Great, thank you. We have another question from Carol. Do you have a question?
Yes, it's probably a little bit more than a question. First a comment and then a question. Hi, everybody. As Jerry mentioned, I'm the head of Protect Our Public Schools that people call POPS, and I'm a tremendous supporter of community partnership schools. In fact, I worked back in the 70s at proto-community schools, so I've had a lifetime involvement. They were in Philadelphia and New York City. I've been in contact with Amy Ellis, whose name was mentioned as being in charge of the technical service portion of community partnership schools, because I was wondering about the funding. And she sent me an email saying that funding had been flat funded for this year, so they're not expanding. But she said that she's expecting that the federal government is going to have a lot of funds available through the Full Service Community Schools Grant, that it's currently at 30 million and it's going to go up probably to 445 million. So they're talking big bucks. And that the University of Central Florida, where Amy is based, would provide the technical services. So to me, that was exciting news that we can actually look towards expanding with funding. My question is particularly to Dr. Asplin. I live in Sarasota, so Sarasota is very dear to my heart, and I've been really hoping that a community school comes to Sarasota. We almost did it 2 years ago, but then there were problems with the superintendent situation, and the district decided to pull the grant. So I'm wondering, Dr. Asplin, since the district is working on the strategic plan, and I know you've been getting a lot of input, do you plan to put community partnership schools into the strategic plan for Sarasota?
I am not sure Dr. Asplin is here.
Ah,
So I think he had to run.
Okay,
a little
I'll
earlier.
have to email him then.
Yes, there's not, it's a very good question. I'd love to hear the answer to that question, but we're gonna have to follow up with him and his team, and I'm sure you will do that.
I definitely will. And
Hey,
thank you for
Jerry,
having this.
If I can interject regarding the funding as well. First off, Carol, thank you for your service and just being a trailblazer with all of this work and bringing it down to the Sarasota Manatee community. I just wanted to keep in mind and put it out there that getting funds from the grant from UCF is not necessarily the only way to become a community partnership school. When we talk about sustaining community partnership schools, we really want to long-term do that locally. So keep in mind that you can go grassroots. Obviously, there is a cost when you partner with agencies like Children's Home Society and UCF, but you're not pigeonholed into just needing a grant to necessarily get it started. So I know getting with people like Charles, myself, and others, we can definitely have those conversations to kind of help you move along the way, because we know our students need it, and we don't want to wait just for one source of income to pursue the opportunity.
Thank you, Jarvis. We have a few minutes left, so if there are any other questions, Rana, you have a question. I see your hand.
Yeah, I noticed these are all geared toward Title I schools, which is wonderful because they are the neediest at this point. But it's kind of like you're labeling certain populations as other because they need these special services. And I don't see why this cannot be applied to all schools. I mean, kids, high affluent kids, middle-class kids, they have a lot of these problems also. And I think it would kind of drum down the people that are objecting to this. Also mixing it up with critical race theory and all that sort of stuff. So is there any possibility that they can be applied to all the schools?
Well, I could put in on that part.
Yeah.
Often, the reason that in places like this, we focus more on what Texas calls Title I schools and what can it be even as low as Title III schools because they're so low performing that their title number is bigger. It's because they're the ones that usually cannot afford it at the personal level versus those other ones that you're talking about are generally the ones that can afford it because the parents have relatively good income, and that's relative, you know, it could be middle class or whatever. But either way, that as far as I know, as far as being the owner of a tutoring company in the bookstore, that we focus a lot on Title I's because they can't afford it. These are people who may have a family of 4 people and only have a $700 a month income that can't even put a roof over their head, or if at all possible that they have a roof but no food. So that's why a lot of this goes focused on that group.
Yeah, I understand that, but I guess I'm old enough that I remember the arguments for Social Security, that it applied to everyone. Therefore, people that were objecting. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying?
I do, and actually, like, we work with different schools. My tutoring company, we work with different schools that are in high-income areas, but also it's easier for them to afford it, and often we don't even have to go to school because the parents can afford it.
Yeah.
Versus the reason that there's a big deal focusing on these less fortunate is because it's an endless cycle. The parents can't afford tutoring, so the kid performs low in school. And similar with other things that relate to their income being low, they don't have enough food to eat, or the food they get for free is low quality, and so forth. So it's a matter that the family cannot provide it, so the school's needing to jump in, and some kind of tax money needing to help, you know, private providers like my company be the ones that.
Rana, excuse me, Rana. Yes, it's a very good question. Maybe yeah, Dr. Davis Cotton can jump in here.
I think it's a good question, and I think that one answer could be we could just start at a foundation. We need to start at a beginning and to fill in an opportunity gap. And I think that we can escalate to where we should be as a collective society. in harmony. So I think the answer is, let's start at the basic need first and build upon that and grow, because I, like you, think that we should not be separated, but we have been as far as economic and social injustice is concerned. But I think once we reach those levels of opportunity and fill in those gaps, we can begin to, I think this model will work in many communities. And I do believe that it does, even in your affluent communities, but it's just not called community partnership schools because the community is already engaged in your higher affluent communities. But I do think that there should be some interdisciplinary and cross-community engagement to understand one another and fulfill that American dream.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention also, I have this book. Oakland started with a couple of full-service community schools, and their entire district went to a community partnership school district. Now every school is. So it is possible, Rana, what you're saying. And the other thing I'd like to point out is, as Ms. Saunders said at the beginning, when you have this type of partnership in a school and you've got the superintendent and the partners there every month discussing just issues that our families and our students have, those issues are not only happening in that one school. It really opens your eyes to what's happening elsewhere. Those partners are beginning to establish innovative programs that can be replicated because they're proven in a framework that works. Ms. Saunders mentioned that because of this relationship with MTR Health, now we have 5 elementary schools that have telehealth. I mean, already she and her team are looking at, oh, this is working. This partner we've established a relationship with, and we've, within a year now, are expanding it and doing pilot programs. So, I mean, what you're saying, Rana, is already happening. And not just in Title I schools with bits and pieces of, I mean, this is an innovative model and it's already happening.
Yeah, Jerry, if I can just briefly add, we have 26 schools around the state. 87% of them are economically disadvantaged, are considered Title I, but 13% of them are not. So we know that the greatest need is, you know, where the students have the most need, but it is something that we believe is for all students. That's why the Florida State Legislature put us in statute at 7.1 million, because they see it as a bipartisan commitment for all students. Just kind of like that smartphone image, right? Rich people, poor people, everybody needs that smartphone to get the resources that they need. And we feel the same way about community partnership schools as well.
I still have a rotary.
It's Colgate. I think it was Jerry that spoke up, but that remark right before Jarvis was right on the mark, but right before Jarvis, that's right on the line. See, we learn as a school district from all of this. It makes it better for the kids. So I agree. I think that there is a collateral benefit that isn't talked about enough, because we learn lessons from going through this very structured process. Makes us better, makes the kids better, the teachers better, the outreach, the parents, the community. So I'll get off my pedestal now.
No, that's great. All right, so we're almost wrapping it up. If there aren't any other questions, I do have a few announcements from Sarasota Strong. This has been a great conversation, and I'm really appreciative for all the people that joined us today. This was recorded, so it will be available for later viewing for anyone who missed any part of it and wants to share this conversation with anybody that might benefit. We greatly appreciate any and all feedback from you to keep these conversations geared towards our community members and the issues that you want to focus on. So email us at sarasotastrong@gmail.com with any comments or suggestions. We wanted to make sure you're aware that our next session is going to be really powerful because we have an opportunity to hear from our youth that are participating in a collaborative funded by the Community Foundation, Healthy Teens Coalition, the Trauma Leadership Corps. Teens and young adult leaders will share their experiences from the training program, tell their stories, and demonstrate how peer-to-peer training really works. Come and discuss the value of peer-to-peer training, hear about trauma from their perspective, of the young people's perspective, and consider innovative approaches to trauma healing for youth. Same as tonight, register on Eventbrite, and you can tune in through Facebook Live on the Sarasota Strong Facebook. And Annalise, if you can post the link if we have it so that people can join. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. This has been an incredible ride. I really, really have enjoyed being part of this process and working so closely with this particular school. And I hope all of you can get involved so we can establish a second one at Daughtry Elementary, which, you know, Ms. Saunders made news tonight by announcing that. And maybe we can bring it to Sarasota as well. So good night, everybody. And thank you so much for joining us tonight.